Got it back again. Football in Focus, Shane's Rib Shack for a Thursday. Good busy night here at Shane's, home of the great ribs, and I had the beans for lunch today. Those green beans, maybe the best green beans in town. I would recommend those green beans to anyone. Those excellent green beans at Shane's Rib Shack. Had the macaroni and cheese and also the okra, but those green beans, I mean, back in the day when I was younger, I had a lot of green beans as a kid growing up, and they were okay, but when you're supposed to eat your green beans, they don't taste as good. You get older, you need your green beans, they taste great. And even the juice, the green bean juice at Shane's Rib Shack, when I was a kid, I said, just get the juice out of here. But I love it here. It's like having a sweet taste of some kind of fluid nectar when you drink that Shane's Rib Shack green bean juice. Speaking of green beans and hitting it the right way, doing things in the green way in the Greensboro, now we've got the Reverend Dennis White with us. And focusing tonight, football in focus, kind of focusing on Dennis White. 20 years in the ministry, the Reverend of defense, I guess you say, not defense or offense, Reverend of defense. He kind of keeps things on defense where it needs to be. The Reverend of defense, Dennis White, with us tonight, Shane's Rib Shack. Kind of like Reggie White in a lot of ways in the ministry. And Dennis, kind of congratulate you on 20 years of good hard work, good hard service, and a lot of days spent in that ministry with the group home and also in the direct ministry too on Sundays and traveling on the road, occasionally going out of state even to spread the word. You've been doing that for a long time. Some people want to spread the field, kind of spread the court. You've been spreading the word, doing a good job of it, and kind of commend you for the good work you've done.
Right, thank you very much, Andy. I really appreciate that. As I approach 20 years in ministry, and it seemed like it was only yesterday. When people say that, it is so true. Time passed by, and being in ministry is part of my life. Ministry have shaped me to be the man I am. Ministry have taught me a lot of good character, honesty, integrity, trustworthy. And I just like to carry it and spread it. Being with you and Don and being a part of your life, it's just important to be around good people.
I think people don't sometimes, they kind of lose the focus and don't get the pure fact or realization how much of a ministry something like this can be, trying to reach out to these kids, trying to get a good positive approach, trying to give them some good publicity when they get the name out there, people find out about these kids and kind of lead them and do some things to help the kids in a positive way. And you do that pretty much every week, helping with the football games and basketball games, and you're doing it too because you get to know a lot of these kids even closer than some other people do just by working with a group home and going to the schools every day, dropping the kids off at school, picking the kids up after school, being in touch with the coaches and the players and knowing all these people, getting to know them real well. And getting to know these people, be kind of close to these people too, allows you to have a major influence, major impact on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. And a lot of people ask me how I do all that I do. How can I put all of it in 24 hours? I'm still presently coaching middle school track at Harrison Middle School. I coach high school football at Ben L. Smith. Broadcast was with you for a while, sideline. Back in those days when Jim Mullen was here, we was doing the sideline reporting at all of the Dudley games, and so it's a lot. As you said, I'm always been involved with kids. I'm a big kid at heart. I think, and we all have a purpose on this earth. And I think it's very imperative that you find out your purpose and you walk into your purpose, and then you have your destiny after you walk into your purpose. And ministry is certainly my life. And one of the great aspects of it, I get to do things I love. And you're talking about the group home. The group home is a state-run facility by the state of North Carolina, Medicaid funded program, where you can be able to take care of kids with behavioral problems and giving them a second chance, giving them a fresh start. And it certainly is a great line of work to be in, because you'll help shaping lives, you're showing love, you're showing compassion, and you're teaching young boys how to become men. And being a role model.
And another point, so who gets the player of the week this week? I asked you about that. We haven't decided that
yet.
Yeah,
the player of the week, that's one of the ones that I have to get back, which there's three individuals that I'm going to give you the name. I'm going to name drop those three gentlemen after, and I can't do a three-way tie. It'd be kind of impossible to do a three-way tie.
A two-way tie a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will get the CEO point of view. That'd be Andy Durham. Ask you a couple of questions on the names I have and see where we at, and we'll go from there.
What about the World Series? What do you think about that? What's Madison Bumgarner last night?
Yeah.
Anybody didn't get to see some of that last night missed something good. That was a good historical fact of the World Series.
Yeah, and what was the final score?
Last night, the final score 3-2.
3-2, and the night before.
And the tying run was on at third base.
Right.
For Kansas City.
And one of the things that you can't leave a stranded duck on the pond in baseball.
Hard to get that guy home. You may get one hit off of Bumgarner, but it's hard to get that man home against Bumgarner. Yeah. Madison Bumgarner from Coach Bill Slayton's old hometown of Granite Falls, North Carolina.
Wow, Granite Falls.
Up near Hickory.
Right. And I saw it the night before when Kansas City just every time they hit, they were scoring. I mean, it's almost like they was a major league team and San Francisco's a minor league team.
It's amazing how a team can look one way one day and completely the opposite the next day.
Absolutely. It's so amazing. Kansas City.
And how about that Madison Bumgarner on the mound? I mean, he's just so, they talk about him being relaxed, kind of being his own man, doesn't let things really get to him. He's out there going, blowing his nose and just going through all those actions he does. You think, gosh, this is kind of crazy, but his focus is completely off the charts, off the hook, you might say. He is just completely focused. They talked to him after the game. He sounds like a country music singer.
Right, absolutely.
That Southern boy's kind of laid back and doesn't really, very little over emotion.
Absolutely, and one of the things about Bumgarner that you have to love the style. I take him back to the quarterback of the Chicago Bears.
Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon was a showboat, but he's a great quarterback when it was time. And Bumgarner, as you say, the things that he do, that's his ritual. You think his nose.
I think it is part of his ritual. Yeah, part of his routine.
But yeah,
it might be the cooler fall air too, just being sure he stays cleared out.
Absolutely, that's a good way to look at it.
Tell you, he's quite a character, though.
Absolutely.
And the funny thing was, last night he got the 5-inning win in relief. He didn't get the 5-inning win from a start. You got to go 5 innings to get the win if you start. But he got the 5-inning win in relief, and they had to go to the scorekeeper to get that official. It's not very often during the game where you hear like the main play-by-play announcer, Joe Buck, say, they've gone to the scorekeeper to see if he's been registered a relief win, and he got the relief win last night.
Right. So to make sure that count as a save or relief win.
Counts as a win. Yeah. He was 3-0 in the World Series. Right. You don't never hear that. 3-0 in the World Series.
That's unheard of.
It was crazy.
Yeah, unheard of. Wow.
He gave up, I think, one run. I think he got one run in the World Series. That one game he had to lead 7-0 last Saturday night, I think it was. Give up one run, and otherwise it was shutout baseball the rest of the way.
Right. Yeah.
Amazing what he did.
So certainly amazing.
And the funny thing was, I keep bringing up all these funny things, crazy things, but he was at New Bridge Bank Park downtown here about 4 years ago playing for the Augusta Green Jackets. Just came through town. He was Class A baseball. His first year.
Right.
We're sitting there calling his games on the radio. So I know this guy. I knew him didn't know him personally, but I followed his game on our website, right about Madison Bumgarner, because he played against some of these local kids in that travel baseball. Right. They all knew Madison Bumgarner. Yeah. So this guy's head and shoulders. All the travel kids around town played against him on the road. Going to Raleigh, going to Charlotte, and the bigger cities.
Right. It's amazing how these guys get their starts. And call out a couple of names: Andy Petty and Derek Jeter.
I'll tell you another name for last night's game: Pablo Sandoval. Remember, he made the final out, caught the pop up. He caught the pop-up. He was 6. He just fell to his back on the ground. He's a huge man, though, but he fell to his back. It took him 2 seconds to bounce back. He was moving. And the crazy about Pablo Sandoval, I was talking to Andy Haynes, who managed the Grasshoppers about 5 years ago, took them to a South Atlantic League championship. I guess first championship of the Grasshoppers about 30-some years. Anyway, Andy was down in the clubhouse one day to Andy. I said, a lot of good ball players have come through this town over the years.
Absolutely.
Different guys. And we were talking about the Green Jackets that time. I said, one of those guys, that Pablo Sandoval. He goes, Pablo Sandoval, good boy. He hadn't done anything lately. I said, well, wait and see. Sure. He went 4 for 4 last night.
Yeah, that's
4 for 4 in a ball game, World Series game.
World Series, that's big time.
That's crazy, man.
So, and they're talking about October. Do you think we'll have another Mr. October?
I think you had him last night.
Yeah,
I think Madison Bumgarner was Mr. October, defensive-wise.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing was last night, too, we had a lot of these games going on. There's so much going on here in October. You had that huge World Series game. You had the Charlotte Hornets came back last night. It used to be the Bobcats for 10 years, came back as the Hornets last night. Ran into some lady downtown. I was in the sheriff's office, talked to the sheriff a little bit. He wasn't in yesterday, but I stopped by to see him. Some lady downtown. She said, we're heading down with the Rodney Westmoreland. You know Rodney Westmoreland?
Right, yeah.
They were going down to watch P.J. Harrison. Didn't get to play to get to shoot, but he was in the game. He's with the team. But they were down 24 points in the third quarter. I kept checking on ESPN.com. Don't watch a bit of the game on TV. Don't know if it's even on TV. It may not have been, but it was on radio for about 10 minutes. They switched to the World Series game. But I kept following I couldn't believe I kept following on the internet. Man, this is terrible. Your first game back is the Hornets, and here come the Hush Puppies. They tell me they just take over. That the Hornets they come back and they look at the Hush Puppies. We can beat these guys. And the guy said, we can't beat these guys. We can't beat these Hush Puppies. We can't beat them, but we can't eat them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Came after the Hush Puppies, and they beat the Bucks. And the Bucks had the worst record in the NBA last year, 15 wins. And the Bucks were just beating the Hornets by 24 points in the third quarter. And the Hornets came back and beat them in OT, 108-106. Crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna have one of these as well. That's
can't beat them, but you sure can't eat them.
We make sure we save something for the producer, Don Moore.
Make sure Don gets one. Yeah.
Always make sure Don get a.
I remember I was doing the radio show back years ago on a Saturday morning downtown over on Summit Avenue at AM Radio. Had a talk show on Saturday mornings doing the radio show. And used to have a place in town. My good buddy Jimmy Fulmer one of the few commercials Jimmy did the commercial for Robinson's Restaurant. Had a little dinner bell in the back. Robinson's Restaurant, good home, great food. But anyway, he did the spot. Anyway, Robinson's was sending us a bag of biscuits down there for Saturday morning. So I'd go by and pick them up, eat them on the air. Instead of eating that food on the air, and somebody calls him, this does not sound right, eating that food on the air. I said, man, it may not sound right, but it sure tastes good. Right. It sure tastes really good. And these Hush Puppies are great.
Paul does an outstanding job.
If P.J. Harris would come out with these Hush Puppies, this would probably transfer, become a three-point shot. Probably hit a three-pointer off this. But the Hornets got their win. Madison Bumgarner, big night for him last night. And tonight, on the field again in Charlotte, football tonight, Carolina Panthers hosting the Saints. How about that?
Yeah, Carolina Panthers need a win real bad, even though they're still first place in the conference.
With a losing record. That's embarrassing.
It really is to be first place in your conference with a losing record. But I think tonight's going to be a great game for the Charlotte faithful. Cam Newton is having a good season, Andy. He has not had.
And he had a terrible fourth quarter last week. Fourth quarter goes up. He had a bad fourth quarter last week. He got lost that last possession.
He certainly did.
They started at the 24. They moved back to the 5. They were going backwards.
Going backwards on that drive.
Just
absolutely.
a last possession. Yeah. That's when you got to come up with a game winner. Because Russell Wilson just taking his team down the field and scored a TD to make it 13-9. And you need a touchdown. You don't need a field goal. You need a touchdown to win. Couldn't get him anywhere. I was very disappointed in that last drive last week.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I was telling a couple of guys, that even with Cam Newton having a bad fourth quarter, that happens. You know, you look at, as you said, fourth quarter comeback quarterbacks are well known. You know, you've got some quarterbacks, they live for that fourth quarter.
John Elway, the best of all time.
Absolutely. And he lived for the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left. So I think Cam will have to assert himself as the fourth quarter comeback quarterback. And he's young, and hopefully that he can do it and not go backwards but go forward.
But all to talk about the games. The game is on the NFL Network tonight.
Yeah.
CBS, first time CBS loses it this year. It goes back to NFL full time. We don't get the game, and it's our team.
Could have
been watching that late night tonight.
Yeah. And I know Don Moore probably know more about that while it happened. You know anything on while it occurred, Andy?
The crazy thing was this past Sunday, I didn't know this. I tracked this. First time CBS had an all NFC game since 1994. You had the Panthers versus the Seahawks. First time 2 NFC teams been on CBS in 20 years.
Wow. And that's an amazing,
Sunday.
You know, that's a stat that only Andy Durham could track. That's
Somebody sent me some information about that.
Very interesting stat, you know.
You wonder what was going on, and they got 2 NFC teams on CBS this past Sunday, but you got the Panthers NFL Network tonight. And I don't know why CBS would just take it that X amount of weeks, and then you go back to NFL Network full time, which they're trying to build the audience up, but they didn't have that great of games. A couple games were fairly close, not many though. They were pretty much blowouts. But the Panthers, the first week we get to see them on our non-pay-for TV, and then they jump to the NFL Network. You know, because after these shows, we can go home and watch most of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And catch some of it here, you know. And,
back to last Friday, Dennis. What about that game with Smith and Page? Start out with talk about what Page did. They won.
Yeah, what Page did was a big difference in the ball game. They was able to get find consistency in their offense when they traded running backs. When they traded running backs, that's when everything started to open up for them. One of the great things about that, they put in a speedster versus a power back, and he started finding and making holes, and that sparked that whole offense. And once Page's offense was sparked, then they began to believe in themselves. once the team like Page 1-7 hadn't won a game, but one game, started believing in themselves.
Hadn't won a game at all. Now they've won 2 in a row.
Yeah,
in both conference games.
In both conference games. And one of the things about it, Andy, is how they won that ball game. It was an evenly played ball game up until the third quarter.
And they're 2-0 in the conference.
2-0 in the conference, and certainly 1 or 2 more conference
2-1.
wins.
Excuse me, I like to go back and correct myself. 2-1 because they lost to Southeast. Yeah. Obviously about their JV teams 3-0 because the JV team from Page over at Dudley tonight. Both teams 3-0 in the conference. Big JV matchup there. Big JV matchup tonight too with Southwest and Northwest. Both those teams 3-0. Big conference games there. But back to Page. One thing about Page you haven't brought up yet. I thought I'd bring this up. One of those touchdowns came from the defense.
Absolutely. Block punt by the basketball player, good block shot, and he was able to get it. One of the other things about Page's defense stiffened up when it looked like Smith was going to try to make a comeback. That defense did an outstanding job. Special teams is the key because they got that field goal for the boost. And I think Page had a better second half than they did the first half, and that helped them to win. One of the things they've done well and did a whole night, they did not bend. They
did not break.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is when Smith looked like they stopped Smith a couple of times in the red zone, Page was able to use their special teams to their advantage, and so Page had a second half game plan that propelled them to get their second victory.
And since we're talking about Page and Smith, what about Smith?
Smith missed a lot of opportunities. One of the things about football, Andy, you've been doing this forever. Once you miss golden opportunities, they never come back your way. Yeah. Once you do not utilize your good field position, Smith had good field position, wasn't able to make it count when it needed to count. Smith was playing 5 of his best men both ways. Yeah. And in the third quarter, those guys, I don't care what league you are in, playing offense and defense for a whole football game, you can't do it.
What if Miles White was a good player?
Yeah, Miles White
had a nice catch for a touchdown, jumped over the top of a defender one time, had a big punt return up the right side one time. He was quite active for Smith.
Right, and you had Desmond Sturgeon going both ways. You had Cameron Clark going both ways. Yep. When you have those guys, that caliber, those big guys going both ways, it's kind of hard. The third quarter, mentally and physically, began to wear down, and that's when Page was able to, but they had a stifled defense. They held Page twice and in the red zone. So Smith played well. They just did not have that consistency, as you and I talked about, to come in where you got to know how to finish. They had an opportunity to finish against Southeast, didn't finish. Had an opportunity to finish with Page. I think Smith got to learn how to finish their young.
I'll tell you, the man that wrote the book on trying to find a way to finish. The guy wrote the book on that, Doug Roberts in Eastern Guilford. 2 straight weeks, 22-21 loss to Northern. Got beat last week 20-17 after leading over Western Alamance by 17-0. Eastern could not finish.
Yeah.
And Doug Roberts is saying, man, we got to find a way to finish these games.
Got to find a way to finish.
They could be in first place or tied for first in that conference. Eastern Alamance, they're playing Eastern Alamance tomorrow night at Eastern Guilford. Senior night.
Absolutely.
Could be.
That's certainly what could have been that way. And Andy, you just said the magic word. Finishing. You know, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
That's because my parents, when I was a kid, about 7 years old, they sent me off one summer to finishing school.
And now, some years later, you still have that finishing mentality.
That's right.
And the thing about Eastern Guilford, Andy, if you could I can jump there real quick. One of the things about Eastern Guilford, they are so quick. And when things is not working for a quick team, if you don't know how to go to something else, you can't finish.
Yeah.
Northern know how to finish. Northern will find a way, as you said, they practice that down through the years.
Yeah, they're explosive. Big play team.
You've got to have a big play in your repertoire because if you don't, when you need it, look at Northwest. Coach Rolfers brought them in the passing game. Yeah. They needed to beat Smith. They won.
That's where Page is a little bit different than they have been in the past. Page is not the big play team, quite as explosive as they've been in previous years. Still a good team, mind you, but not quite as explosive as they were back in. Makes a big difference. You ain't got a guy like James Summers anymore. James is giving him a 75-yard run on a big play. One time over at Ragsdale, I think it was James' sophomore year, they didn't beat Rags that night, but he sure gave Ragsdale a good game. One of those times at that time, Page could not get over that Ragsdale hump. They finally did. But James took off, I think, on a 75-yard run up the left side. He was just gone to town that night. What about Dudley? Dudley's still unbeaten.
Dudley is one of the teams, even though we haven't had an opportunity to see them, Dudley is one of those teams, Andy, that this is the time of the year that Dudley is jailed. Dudley, for the last 7 years, have been October, November, December team.
Yeah.
And this is the time of the year that it's dangerous to play Dudley because now they know what's at stake. One of the things about Dudley and then mentally, they do not look at their record. They don't worry about record. They worry about play by play by play. And whenever you are that disciplined to worry about play by play, you're a dangerous team.
Now you ask the coach, why can't you stop Dudley? The coach will tell you right quick, they got too many running backs.
Too many running backs, yeah.
They got about 7 running backs back there.
They have a committee, running back by committee. And you and I called the games last year. One of them will come in the first quarter, second quarter,
sure
and as you said, whoever is ticking and clicking, that's who they're going to go with for the second half.
They did that a lot.
Absolutely.
They may start the game out with Graves in the first quarter, maybe go with Connell Young in the second, and Wallington turning loose in the third.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then whoever's high, you get the fourth quarter finish. Mm-hmm. So that's how you become a finisher because, as you said, you've got to have. And
they had Mosley last year, too.
Absolutely. And he was dangerous.
This year they got Hookers dangerous.
Absolutely.
Tough team at Dudley Panthers. What about Southern Guilford? Still unbeaten. They're going for the unbeaten regular season tomorrow night against Ledford at home. Southern Guilford, last time they were unbeaten during the regular season, they were 9-0-1 in 1979, back when current coach Darrell Brown's grandfather, C.K. Sada, was coaching.
And Darrell Brown probably was a little kid back then running around with his grandfather, and now he's trying to make a history for his grandfather. Southern has a great opportunity to make history. And you and I talked all year long about our different county teams. We know Forsyth County is going to get their share of conference wins. And so for Gifford, we still have Dudley and Southern to win the conference. And so we are certainly rooting for the guys over at the Storm at Southern and Coach Brown. This is one of the things they have to do. When you're playing for history, you play the game, and history is going to come after the game.
Yeah.
So don't put history before the game. Play the game because Ledford is a team that can stick around and cause problems.
Ledford's got some good history on their program, too. They had, back in the day, they had Brad Hoover, then they had his brother Joey Hoover, Madison Hedgecock. All those guys come out of Ledford, all those guys. I don't know if Joey Hoover made it to the pros or not, but I know for a fact that Brad Hoover made it to the pros with the Panthers.
Absolutely.
And Hedgecock was with the Rams. I think he played in the Super Bowl with the Giants.
And there's
jump up, I'll be right back. Keep talking.
There's been some teams that has played Southern real close this year. The teams that Southern has been in some close competition with, and so teams knowing how to key on Southern is to try to stop Gillespie. But the thing about it, when
had to
you
make a handoff right there to hand off those hush puppies to the next man down the line.
When you try to
hush puppy field of motion.
Yeah, that's and no flag on the play. So Don has his
enough
hush
time to
puppy.
get a flag, man. That hush puppy's going down to the end around quickly down the stomach. Yeah,
that's one of the good plays. Don is always ready to take the hush puppies in for a touchdown. And then what I was saying about Southern. You and I, we are really looking forward to Southern tomorrow night, but we're looking for Southern. If Reggie Gillespie is healthy, so is Southern Guilford healthy, and they can write their own ticket. The destiny is in their hands, and we're just not singling out because there's 11 guys on the team, but we know the catalyst of the team is Mr. Gillespie.
Kid coming in later, Nathan Stoner's had a good year.
Stoner has
close
to
1,000 yards passing. They got a guy, Ron Hunt's, right at 500 yards receiving. I was thinking about that day. You got a guy like Gillespie's run for like 2,400 yards, 2,300 yards and some change. You still got a quarterback throwing for 1,000. Got a guy receiving for 500, some maybe 9-10 touchdowns. He's had a very good offensive year.
Yeah, Southern is having a stellar year. This is what they've been waiting on. This is, we go back to when Cunningham was there.
Yeah, back when Malik Mosley was there.
And when Malik Mosley was there, absolutely. They was
Jamie
knocking at the door.
Cunningham and Matt Colvin.
Absolutely.
I still follow Matt Colvin at Howard University. He's still playing up there.
They was knocking on the door those years.
Yeah, they finally beat Northeast back when Cunningham was in. They finally beat Northeast and tried to get them forever. Finally beat Northeast, and like you say, kept knocking on that door.
Absolutely.
And now that door is moving. It's moving.
And the thing about it,
now it's time, like the old coach said, time to knock that door down.
Right. And you know who they want worse than any team if they can make it to the third round?
Probably
they
Northern.
want Northern.
Yeah.
They want Northern
third
real
round,
bad.
Yeah. Might get Easter the first round.
Absolutely. Would that be something? Wow. And that's going to be, Andy, that's going to be something that night. That's a busy day for
Southern,
you.
it's like they are. They could actually host that game if they had Northern in the third round, because Northern has They may be able to throw that.
It's going to be a hard one,
They
isn't
can't
it?
throw that loss out because that was a conference loss. They can't throw the loss out.
Absolutely.
You can throw out a non-conference. Northern can't throw the loss out.
No, you can't throw the loss out
East
because it's a
Alabama's gonna
conference
stay in.
game.
You can throw out a non-conference loss, but not a conference loss. You got to keep all
Absolutely.
those.
You have to keep
That's
all your
interesting. So
conference.
Northern could actually become a team who would travel to Southern Gulf.
Yeah.
That's an interesting road. You get down that Drake Road, coming off Randleman Road, hit
that curve going
hit
around.
that Kivett Drive, and get on that Drake Road. It's interesting travels down there. What about Northeast Guilford? Interesting travel on High Cone Road going down there, but they got a new coach this week. Coach McDaniel took over.
Yeah, Coach Jackson has resigned. One of the things about Northeastern, and I talked about it when the day we found out that Jackson was going to be the head coach. We talked about it then that he had to go in and make a name for himself. A young coach, coached with him over at Smith High School, his first head coaching job. And one of the things, and you call it a coaching carousel.
Yeah.
One of the things about that carousel, you have to be on it, be in it to win it. And,
you'd rather be on it and have something lined up if you're coming off of it. Have some lined up so you can stay on it. Just jump off for a second.
Off and jump back on it. Rodney Brunson did it.
We did that down at Lake Daniel Park when I was a kid. They had that merry-go-round. We jump off and jump right back on. He just kept that thing going as fast as we could. And sometimes we'd go flying off, hit the grass, hit the curve, and then come flying back on. Spent a lot of time on that thing. But you're right about that. Got to keep a job always available, always handy. Yeah. What about your Tar Heels? Big win on the road at Virginia. That might be one of the biggest wins in recent North Carolina Tar Heel history to beat the Virginia Cavaliers in Charlottesville last Saturday.
Absolutely.
Got a little help along the way, but they got the win.
That was certainly a big win indeed for the Tar Heels.
And talk about some fortune, not misfortune, some fortune. Your quarterback's helmet comes off. Marquise Williams gets his helmet knocked off. He's got to leave the game one play. You stick Mitch Trubisky in the backup quarterback for one play. He throws a touchdown pass, ends up being the game winner.
Absolutely.
How crazy is that?
And that, like we said, that was a big win, ACC win for the Tar Heels.
They may be on that same path they took last year to close out the season.
Yeah,
maybe on that similar path.
Absolutely, maybe on that same path.
Yeah, starting to get hot at the right time.
To be able to do that, and that will help them. And also Larry Fedora. That would deal a lot more with all of the sanction problems and everything going on.
I think some of Larry's pressure may not be so bad this year because of the fact that he was not there when all the academic stuff blew up. But again, Larry, I think is going to be okay. I think he's going to be all right.
Absolutely. He's certainly going to be okay because people believe in him. He showed them last year how he can bounce back and have a winning season, go down to win the Belt Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, so those kids that bought into a system, they believe in him. And even though they've lost a lot of games by some big punch-on points and didn't score a lot, I think they're gelling the ACC.
I got to ask you about this because I'm not sure. Who do they play this weekend? You know who's next?
If that's Mr. Carolina, Don Moore. Who will Carolina have this week?
Florida State? Okay, well, that's going to be tough. Yeah, that's going to be tough. Maybe they're going to Miami. They've already been to Miami. I had to get Don to look that up for us.
Yeah.
Be sure about Carolina this week. But we also look at the Heels and their trip to Virginia. That went well for them up there. Coming back, they feel pretty good about themselves. High school basketball practice began this week. This is one of the teams I want to keep an eye on. Last year I started tracking this team early in the season. They were young. I want to keep an eye on this team to see what happens. And I may be going out chasing a wild dog somewhere, maybe going out on a limb, but I'm still going to watch this team. That's that team of Barber, Moore, Neese, Pointer, Tucker, Wallace, Newman, those girls at Northwest Guilford. Got to keep a watch out for those kids.
Yeah, I knew exactly. When you call out those first two names, I knew, they came along real well.
They really did.
And let's go back to the
ones
Timco.
Were the sophomores, now juniors.
Now juniors. And then Timco, they came in third. Was they third?
I think it was second.
Second. Yeah, they won and came in. Absolutely came in second. And when you and I, we had the opportunity to see them play twice. Mm-hmm. And what's the young girl, the big center in the middle?
Pointer. Megan Pointer.
Yeah, Megan Pointer.
She's one of the Pointer sisters.
She absolutely, and she pointed her team in the right direction. Put them on her shoulder with her leg. Her ankle.
Yeah, she came out of the game and came back in. Yeah,
absolutely.
Tough kid.
And got those 2 key rebounds to help her team win.
And the Page boys, they got Graves, they got Hill Mays, they got Seegers, they got Overton who gets to a football. They got Tyron, that little point guard, going to take over at point guard there. Then you got the Northwest boys, backcourt, one of the best backcourts in the state. The two Jalen's, Jalen Gore and Jalen Spicer. Not many kids quicker than those two.
Yeah, very quick. And also one of the Henry. They also have Henry.
Kevin Henry gets
Kevin
football.
Henry.
Yeah,
Kevin Henry will be inserted in that to come in. So they have really 3 guys that, as you said, quick. They are real fast. Northwest. One of the things about Northwest that they didn't have last year that they had the year before, and they didn't have the big guys in the middle. They had the one big guy. You always need 2 or 3 big guys to help you to win in the conference that Northwest is in that 4A Piedmont conference.
Yeah, you do, because other teams. That's a quick conference, though. Ragsdale's going to have Tevin Quick. They're going to have C.J. Parker, T.J. Parker. Those guys will be in the middle for them when they get ready to roll. But Southwest can probably rely a lot on guards. Southwest.
They would have to. They would have to. And Leach, no more Mr. Leach. Leach, that year we saw Leach, and it was amazing to see.
One wild year. He should be able to play for Winston State.
He should be inserted in the lineup, absolutely.
Got those big JV games tonight. Page at Dudley. Again, Page 8-0, Dudley 7-0. Both teams 3-0 in the conference. JV football. Big one tonight. Got the games with Southwest Guilford 8-0, 3-0 at Northwest Guilford 7-1, 3-0. Got the Greensboro Parks Recreation Youth football tonight. They got a games tonight too over at J.C. Park. Got 4 big games tonight going on the Stanley Field and the Von Durham Field tonight. Got youth football going on at J.C. Park.
Yeah, it's a lot going on, and that's
Nathan played for Northeast back in the day.
Nathan played with 2 teams. He played with Trotter, and then he played out with McLeansville with John Booty. Yes, with that John Booty team, and I had opportunity to coach my first little league, recreational coaching team. Was with Windsor.
Windsor Rams.
Windsor Rams, and
those guys
also
back in the
Glenwood Rex in the basketball. So that's when I got into
Glenwood Bears.
Yeah, that's when I got into
all those
it.
Teams named,
a lot going on, and you're talking about big game tonight for JV. Page and Dudley. A lot of times JV games don't have a lot of implications, but this game has a lot. One of the things about it, guess what, Andy? Next 2 years, these guys are going to be playing against each other for what could be the 4A Metro Conference Championship. So I always look at JV years, and I track those real good because the teams that you play your 11th and 12th grade year is going to be the teams you played your 9th and 10th grade year because you guys are now in the same classification. And that take me back. You beat me when we was in Jackson. You beat me now we was in JV. Now I'm playing you again, Dudley and Page. So it's have a lot. It have a lot of bragging rights.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll say too, we beat you in JV. We couldn't beat you on varsity. So the JV game doesn't feel like it means as much as it did back when you beat them.
Right. And it does. JV's games to me mean a lot.
Yeah.
Because one of the things about JV games, it will help a sophomore get prepared to be a starter for his junior year. You do well, they're watching you. You do well, and then you come out. They're expecting you to be prepared and ready for your junior year to be inserted into a starting role if you do good on JV.
Here's your trivia question tonight.
Okay.
Now we called you the Minister of Defense. Not defense, but defense. Reggie White was Minister of Defense. He was a defensive lineman for the Green Bay Packers and also Philadelphia Eagles and the Carolina Panthers. Where did he go to college? You remember?
Let me think. Oh, that's a good one, Andy. That's a good one right there. You got me thinking. Reggie White, oh, man. Give me a second, Andy.
Okay. I'll give you a hint. Hope this doesn't give it away. Emmanuel Mosley.
Tennessee.
I was going to give you Rocky Top. I thought that'd be too easy. Rocky Top.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Emmanuel Mosley,
Tennessee.
Yep, just like that.
That's I got it.
Since you got your trivia question, I'm going to give you a gift here. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Minister of Defense. I'm going to go to Dennis for the Westover Terrace for your kids.
Oh, man, appreciate that,
man. I'm going to
Andy.
give some to the Southern Guilford guys this week, too.
Yeah.
But that's good for you to go over there, man.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Ready to
give us one more time what's going on Sunday. You got the big ceremony Sunday to recognize 20 years in the ministry. Dennis White.
Yeah, 20 years of ministry at Faith Walk Baptist Church, a church where I'm founder.
Give that church name again.
Faith Walk Baptist Church, located 1305 on Rankin Mill Road, right down the street from Briggs Memorial. We're looking for a great time. You and Don Moore are 100% welcome. Looking forward to you and Don. If y'all can come by and see us at 3:30. We won't hold you long.
Yeah, I tell you what, the
3:30.
only thing that throws me off Sunday is always basketball day, and with this time change, that's why I wanted to make sure we gave a lot of attention to the 20 years and commemorate that here tonight,
Right.
so in case we could be there Sunday, which with that daylight savings time coming in, got to get that outdoor hoops in time as much as you can. But 20 years in your church name again, Faith Walk Baptist Church, Rankin Mill Road.
Rankin Mill Road, 1305 Rankin Mill Road. I've been in the ministry for 20 years. I was pastor. I've had pastored for 16 of those two churches. I pastored the church, Crossroad Baptist Church, my first pastorate, 28 years old. Pastored church down in South Boston, Virginia. Turboville, Virginia, for 8 years, and then I founded this
you used
church.
To commute there too, didn't you?
Commute back and forth, commute. I went to several seminaries. Went over to Greensboro Bible Institute, Jacksonville Theological Seminary, Shaw University. So I should have a doctorate degree by now. All these accolades. But the 20 years of ministry has been real good for me. I've had opportunities to preach all over the United States. I have on the sea, had opportunity to preach in Mexico. So I been very blessed New York, very blessed to go all over to preach the gospel. And
you've done a good job.
Yeah,
done a good job.
Andy, you said something that had me thinking. These 20 years have been sweet. There's 20 more.
20
and,
more.
I'm shooting for 20 more. And if 20 more come, and I'll be ready
20 more, you'll be glad to take 10 more to go with it, so you got 50 total. That's nothing wrong with that. Shooting for 20 more, hope to maybe get 10 to go with it.
Hope to get 10 more, and certainly you're talking about golden living. That'd be it.
That's all about.
I would certainly be almost like NASA. My mission would be complete if I can get 50 years.
Just don't end up like that rocket did earlier this week.
No, absolutely. And
that's the rocket's red glare, the bomb's bursting in there.
Yeah, one of my best friends, she was there, her and her boyfriend went, and they couldn't believe it. The most amazing thing that she ever seen, and she recorded it on her phone.
That was an unmanned spacecraft.
Unmanned spacecraft. What a blessing. What a blessing it was unmanned.
Speaking about unmanned, we're not unmanned or not undermanned. We've got 3 men ready to go from Southern Guilford. Let's get Mr. Stoner in. Dennis, let's let you go grab Mr. Stoner, bring him in for us here.
All right.
Shane's Rib Shack. Again, keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
20 more, maybe 10 to go with it for Dennis White in the ministry. Faith Walk Baptist Church, Rankin Mill Road. Thank you to Dennis White. Nathan Stoner due up next, Shane's Rib Shack. Miami.